All right, move to reports from the city planner and director of code enforcement.
I just have a few things. Yesterday afternoon, I sat down with Jeff Maiden from RJM Engineering. Mr. Maiden is working on completing the letter of map removal in relation to the Hickory project on Columbus Circle Drive. This has been an outstanding FEMA issue for several years now. Mr. Maiden told me that he intends to submit all of the engineering documents, the hydrologic and hydraulic studies to FEMA next week, and we'll be requesting that the letter of map removal be issued. That is the final step in that project under our floodplain ordinance, and it is a conversation directly between the applicant and FEMA. Hopefully that will be resolved. He did go through all of the information with me. The goal is to show that the fill project had no rise whatsoever in the floodway. Mr. Maiden was still clarifying a few other things and double checking some of his numbers, but he did find one slight rise of 1/100th of an inch at one specific spot based on his calculations. There has been my expectation would be that would be acceptable to FEMA, but we will find out. I'll keep you updated on that. Otherwise, I think Commissioner Bain already mentioned it, but there is that far east side rezoning request is still out there. Mayor, you had a question?
In terms of the Clomar, this is just for the Hickory Creek segment of Columbus Road, nothing more?
Yes,
Okay.
for that stretch there, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. There's still one outstanding on the northern end of Columbus Road. This evening, I'll be meeting, and John Paskey as well, we will be meeting with the West Side Neighborhood Association in light of some of the issues that have kind of come to the top with the Stimson Avenue project. One of the things I think I'm at least happy about is that historic preservation has become an issue that people are realizing is very important to our community. As most of you know, nothing would make my heart happier than to see historic preservation be treated with respect and that it be part of our city's code. I've been working on that off and on for well over a year now. I know it's been attempted in the past and didn't make it through City Council. I do get the impression that there's a little bit more interest at this point, and so I do intend to start moving forward again with that in 2012. And that's all I have for right now.
Go ahead, Ann.
Could I clarify? I don't think it ever got to City Council. It never got through the planning.
Is that
commission.
correct? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Did you ever see one, Paul?
No.
No, we never saw it.
This would have been 1992, 93, somewhere in there.
Oh, man, I can go 82.
Yeah, 82, okay.
Come on. I mean, it was a planning commission issue, not a...
I only know from 92, so I couldn't swear to anything pre 92.
Typically, that wouldn't be the planning commission's purview. Wouldn't it be through the city code, which would be City Council, as well as then maybe the establishment of an architectural review board? Or...
It was an overlay zone as it
Okay.
was proposed,
okay.
so it was council.
It'd be
It would have been council.
council
After the
at
planning
23, as a
commission.
planning commission, yeah. And I know the steering committee of the comprehensive plan had an element of trying to address that.
Oh, yeah, we've been,
And the
it's
comprehensive plan.
recommended our comprehensive plan, and the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Commission, we've fully supports moving forward with that as well.
And again, I'm aware the resistance usually has to do with restrictions on what can be done, and people look at that as an impediment to what their opportunity to use the property.
And I think Ohio University was another one of the issues, and I think that has to be resolved if they would be liable or susceptible to such an interpretation. But in the past, that was an issue. Different personnel, different approaches now, so that may not be an issue. So can we expect to see that ordinance you've been working on in a month, 6 months?
No, it'll be shorter than 6 months. We've got it's 90% there, and Ron Luce from the Historical Society did help me out with giving some very critical feedback of it, and we've been working with the State Historic Preservation Office to confirm that everything we have meets their standard guidelines, and also would make the city eligible to be what they determine or what they call a certified local government. for historic preservation, which is also recommended in our comprehensive plan. So, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good to hear. All right, any questions for the planner? All right, John, if you...
The only thing I had to report was the shade tree meeting last Thursday evening. The family oxygen property out on State Route 56, they did approve that. Actually complimented them on how well they did the plans and with the numbers and ratios broke down and so on and so forth. So that one was approved. The Stimson Avenue project also was approved. They did install or agree to put more trees to the rear of the property along the rear property line. And an issue was brought up there, and it's one that I spoke with them too, just to throw it out there in the future on this one, is Title 37, and we spoke about this briefly, there may be a conflict with the bulk controls. Title 37 requires an 8-foot buffer if the property is more than 100 foot wide on the residential, between the right-of-way and the street, but yet the bulk controls for business areas require a 0-foot setback. So how do you get an 8-foot buffer if you have 0-foot setback? So what they did on this is they took an average of the setback through the front of the entire building across that property, and it did meet using the average. So that's how they obtained it this time. But something that I think we will discuss when we get into buffering at the shade tree meetings in the future.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it might be something also introduced into the code where it sort of lists the setbacks and which one sort of, is the definitive setback, and then kind of ranks them to lower priority setbacks.
so that's all I have.
All right, Mayor?
I'm aware that I think Debbie Walker will submit any upgrades, new ordinances to our website, our code, Muni Code, I guess it is. Is there anything have you had any conversation with anything that we think needs to be upgraded or changed? Or when I say changed, I mean typos or anything that has jumped out at you as a contradiction?
I haven't spoke with her about any. I have found a few type small ones in the
Okay.
code that I can relay to her.
Why don't you, submit those to her so she can put it in as one package if need be.
Okay.
I don't know when the submission time is. I know it was coming up soon to do the upgrade, and I asked her to also price out multiple upgrades during the year, because we should be bringing it along rather than have them sit there and get too stale as information.
Well, or the quarterly, like we were doing before with the ordinances, would be good.
Yeah. Okay. Just because I remember we had a discussion about the bulk controls.
Yep.
Pieces missing out of that. And that's just one thing.
You're right, we've had a lot of people calling us up wanting to know about the CO ordinance, a lot of people about the sign ordinance, and they're not listed on the website, so.
Yeah.
So just for accuracy's sake.
I think the M's missing from industrial zone.
What's that?
The M's missing from industrial zone at the beginning of the section. All right. Any other questions? All right, opportunities for citizens to speak about items not covered on the agenda. Mr. Luce, either the podium or the table, please.
Thank you. My name is Ron Luce. I'm the Executive Director for the Athens County Historical Society and Museum. I'm also a concerned citizen and live at 15 West Hills Drive, Athens, Ohio. I want to start by saying several things. I wish the discussion that occurred just a few minutes ago about the whole issue of B zones had occurred long before the decision was made last week. I also would like to commend the mayor. I think that your interpretation is exactly on target. I don't think there are any loopholes. I would like to thank Ms. Mosley for her support. I think you both got it right. I think two of our current members got it wrong. I would like to welcome Ms. Bain, who I think is a very interesting and good choice and will be a very reasonable person to work with, and thank you. And I thank Paul Loeb for his work on historical preservation. I think it's long overdue. I have made no secret of my belief that a grave error was made last week in accepting the Wasserman proposal. I believe, as a citizen, despite the fact that Mr. Wasserman told me a few minutes ago that I'm not interested in zoning, that is absolutely wrong. I am very interested in zoning. I love this city. I'm very concerned about what the implications are of the decision that was made last week. I believe the logical extensions of that decision are detrimental to the entire city. I believe those members who voted in favor of passing Mr. Wasserman's proposal acted inappropriately in light of the clear language of the B3 zoning codes and B2, and the opinion of their own legal counsel. I believe Mr. Paskey erred in giving any indication and should never indicate to anybody that something is a done deal before it gets here. To have led Mr. Wasserman to believe that all this was a formality, I think was incorrect on his part and unprofessional. And I think he should be reprimanded for that behavior. I wish to try to resolve this whole issue by asking Mr. Wasserman, respectfully, as a humanitarian, to give up on his attempts to purchase the property and allow it to be sold to someone who will preserve that historic structure and who will not violate the clear language of B3 zones. I do know that there are buyers lined up. I respectfully ask that Mr. Wasserman, in the name of civic responsibility and in goodwill, forgive the city its errors and not hold the city liable. I ask the city to encourage and support Mr. Wasserman in finding a suitable site in an appropriately zoned portion of the city to build his building and do everything within legal and code language to accommodate him. I have nothing against Mr. Wasserman personally. I wish him well. I've said that from the beginning. There has been much talk about appeals, lawsuits, legal actions of all kinds. I don't believe Mr. Wasserman wants that. I'm sure the city doesn't want it. I'm positive our citizens don't want it, and I know I don't want it. I think it's possible that the Planning Commission has a legal right to make bad decisions. Mr. Lang has pointed that out, that he will defend you legally, and so you're safe there. But bad decisions are still bad decisions. The ethical and practical consequences of your decisions will be difficult for all of us in this entire city to live with now and in the future. Therefore, I ask this commission to take the responsibility for its mistakes, for however they happened, and overturn its decision, and be as cooperative as possible within the law and within city code in allowing Mr. Wasserman to build the appropriate building in the appropriately zoned space. I go back to the most basic thing of all, which I think, Mayor, you said very well. Required parking spaces for tenants are not businesses. It's crystal clear. Thank you.
Mr. Roos, I'm kind of curious. Mr. Roos?
Yes.
I'm curious, do you have currently a list of buildings that you wish to, or you or a committee of people have designated as places that you would like to see?
I do not, but that is on the list of things to do.
If that's the case, why did you wait until now to come here and say that you want to preserve this building, which is, my understanding, is not on the historical registrar?
It is the first building, it is the second building that has occurred that I know of since I have become the director.
But in the years, how long have you been the director?
1 year.
1 year, and in that time, have you proposed a listing of buildings that you want to preserve?
I have talked many, many times with Mr. Loeb. We have talked about developing a document to present.
Do you have a committee as such? I believe that's the appropriate way that we're supposed to be approaching Mr. Loeb, is with a committee
Well,
of people.
since I have 2 part-time employees, I'm the only committee I have. I can tell you that the board is very interested in this. We have every intention of moving forward with trying to support the city in its efforts to preserve old buildings.
I just have one question for you, Mr. Luce. Had you consulted the designers of the project?
Have I consulted the designers
Yeah.
of what project?
Of the Stimson Gardens Apartments. One of the designers is a historic preservationist.
I'm sorry.
One of the designers in the project is a historic preservationist, Jeremy Bittinger, and I was curious if he was consulted at all.
I have not consulted anybody. As far as I'm concerned, I came into this for one thing initially, was to protect an historic building. In the midst of it, I saw as a citizen that a serious violation, in my opinion, of code was going on, and I was motivated to try to save the city from the destruction of that decision.
I understand. Thank you.
But you're also, Mr. Luce, but you're also aware of people, specific people who are going to tender an offer to the owner of the property?
I'm sorry?
You mentioned earlier that you're in specific knowledge of people who are willing to buy that property?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me who those people might be?
I don't think it's the purview
They
of
have
this
asked
commission.
that I not divulge their names.
No, Luce, you don't need to, I don't think that's the purview of this commission, RJ, I'm sorry. It's only basically the person petitioning the owner. I do, thank you, Mr. Luce, for your comments. I do have a question to you, Paul Oak, on the historic preservation thing. Is that something that you would put in place is coming up with a list of which fall under the historic preservation overlay, or how would that?
Usually what you would do, I guess, my basic approach, when you have an ordinance, you want to have a historic ordinance, historic preservation ordinance, and with that ordinance, you want to create a historic preservation commission. The commission would then be assigned tasks, just like we have a shade tree commission, a planning commission that has rules with and disabilities commission. One of those responsibilities of that commission would be to inventory and document all of the buildings that are of local historical relevance. So that would be their responsibility. We wouldn't be coming forward with that list. We'd create a commission with 5 or 7 appointees who have expertise in historic preservation, architecture, land use law, planning, geography, local history, etc. And then they would work with the city, work with local historians, work with the Historical Society to put that list together and provide that to City Council. Now, with that being said, my goal to begin with an ordinance would be that specifically with our downtown historic district, which was listed at the National Registry back in 1980, that it should go without saying that there is enough of a historic relevance specific to that district that should be part and parcel to an ordinance as it's created.
Right.
That the commission should have some oversight in relation to that zone specifically.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Baum, if you'd like to...
My name is Edward Baum. I live at 20 Sunnyside Drive in Athens, Ohio. I was unable to be here last week to enter into the discussion because I was out of the country. And so I'm sorry I missed that discussion, but I'm glad I did miss that discussion because I'm able to be here this evening to commend the mayor for his selection of Nancy Bain as the new member of the Planning Commission. I don't think of a single soul in Athens who has more experience, background, and knowledge of planning and what's been happening here. And thank you, Nancy, for your willingness to accept this position.
Thank you, Ed. I love this.
I come at my comments from 3 perspectives. One perspective, as you all know, I was for 8 years a member of Athens City Council, 2 years on the Parking Committee, which I chaired, and then 6 years on Planning and Development. And one of our concerns at Planning Development is about the whole question of parking, the required parking for residences. And when we established, and the City Council at that time went through an extensive review of the zoning code, one of the requirements that we put in was that the certain number of required parking spaces for each residence, whether it be a bedroom, a house, an apartment, would be required in order to get people off the streets, in order to be parking available for people. The question is what happens if someone doesn't want that particular parking place? It was the intent at the time to ensure that the parking place would be available to the residents. But what has happened is that quite often they're now being sold to someone else, which I think is a distortion of the original intent that parking be available to residents, and that may be something that the Planning Commission may be wishing and willing to address. My second perspective is I'm currently the chair of the Comprehensive Plan Review and Advisory Committee. We are concerned about the future, not so much the past. And one of the questions is the whole area of the Stimson Avenue development. And if you look at the plan carefully, either in terms of the plan that was adopted by City Council or the revisions that were attempted by Planning Commission itself, that is a cohesive area which was considered market-oriented, to have market-oriented retail establishments on the first floor, if necessary, and possible residents above. I think the mayor in his comments, and I wholeheartedly support them, that the particular project does not abide by the code and should not have been approved on that basis. My third perspective is from concerned citizen. We have a good administration. I mean, I may disagree occasionally with Paula or Paul or someone else, but we have a good administration. We have an administration that's very small. We have a small city, really, but administration that has also a very excellent law department, a law office. And when the law office is asked for its opinion on something and gives its opinion, and then for a city commission to say, we don't care about your opinion, we'll go about doing what we want anyway, I think there's a disconnect here. When I read, and finally read the Athens News, that Lisa Eliason was here, commented upon her viewpoints, I would think that that would have more weight than Mr. Paskey, who I greatly admire, and that individuals, and that should have some guide for a planning commission. And I hope in the future, if you decide to ask for legal opinions, you abide by them. And as a last comment, which I had planned to make, 15 years ago, in my role on City Council, I handed to the chair of the Planning Commission a whole packet of material on historic preservation and a proposed historic preservation ordinance. The Planning Commission, in its wisdom, decided not to pursue that. I'm very pleased to hear that you are now pursuing it, and I commend Mr. Logue for going ahead with this and look forward to seeing something in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mayor?
One more, if we're going on to announcements, I don't know if anybody,
Yes, if you go to either the podium or the table, or is the table working? Yeah, podium's fine, thank you.
Beverly Flanagan, 132 North Lancaster Street. Three quick comments. First of all, Mr. Sumney asked Mr. Luce if he had formed a committee. Mr. Luce has been working with Mr. Logue. Mr. Logue's committee, it seems to me, is the appropriate committee for identifying historic structures. That, to me, is a non-issue. Secondly, I quote Ms. Bain, and I think I have this exact, when she said a few minutes ago, I'm just shocked at what happened. My sentiments exactly. Third, she then followed up by saying she thought perhaps an appeal period might have been considered, but it may have passed by now. I'd like clarification on that because can somebody speak to that? Thank you.
I'd like to speak to the first remark. I think a few months ago, I made a proposal, or just not a suggestion, I should say, regarding armory use. And I was rebuked and told that this wasn't the proper place, that in fact committees were the place to go to begin. Well, no, Mr. Logue told me that, the committee had been formed that he was working with. So to my knowledge, this is what I was asking about, is had there been a formal committee presented or comprised of people here in the community that could discuss historical buildings that they wanted to preserve? And the answer was no. So then my supposition then, based on all that, is that a proper committee should be proposed to work in tandem with Mr. Logue, not just a single individual.
Any other comments? Question? Get a podium or table, please.
Excuse me, I asked for clarification on the appeal period.
I do not know.
Yeah.
So I asked yesterday, Beverly, I asked the law director yesterday, too, right here. I asked the law director yesterday what the time period was, and so I assume he's going to get back to me.
Okay, good, thank you. Or Ms. Holly, ma'am.
I don't know, I just know that people appeal things to the zoning board of appeals from one meeting or 2 meetings away to another. So it doesn't seem for us to be a tiny period of time. I might also add that one time on the board when I made...
If you're going to continue to speak, I'm sorry, we just can't, the microphone will pick you up.
I can say that with your microphone.
You can sit down right there. Yeah.
This shouldn't take long, okay. One time when I was making a decision that I didn't seem to be too sure about, and then finally cast a vote on which the applicant was denied, I was told by the zoning administration that if I wanted to change my mind, I had 30 days in which to change my vote. It would be nice if you all could do that too. Maybe you can.
Thank you for your comments. If there are any more comments? Oh, sorry.
Title 41 says appeals from a final order, adjudication, or decision of the planning commission may be to the Court of Common Pleas of Athens County pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Chapters 2505 and 2506. I do not know if that means for the applicant to appeal or if the public can appeal.
I think the conversation here is whether we would be able to change our minds.
Right.
All right, go ahead, thank you.
I thought you were going to give an opinion about that. My name's Rick Wasserman. I'm managing partner of Wasserman Group LLC. It's nice to see you all again. I wasn't intending to have this meeting on my agenda today or to speak again, but I moved to do so. I want to respond to a couple of things that were said by our executive director of the local historical society. I think that his comments regarding the code administrator, Mr. Paschke, are grossly unfair, and I disagree completely. I think that Mr. Paschke has been a public servant extraordinaire, not just through this process, but through many others. It's a very difficult job, I'm sure, to listen to everyone's opinion and to try to do what the law says. In my discussions early on about this project with the code director and the city planner, no one gave me any assurance that anything would be done. No one told me that anything was a formality. What he did do was he gave me the status of the laws that's been applied in the past. And he told me what, based on his opinion, is the permitted use of certain things in a B3 district. And the local code gives him exclusive and solitary authority to make judgments about what is and what is not a permitted use. If one were to look up the state statute on planning commissions, nowhere in that statute does it give the planning commission even the right to adjudicate that. It is the sole and solitary province of the administration, and under our city code, the administration's appointed person to do that is the code director. Anyway, I feel that he has done an exemplary job through this process. I respect everyone to have an opinion on all of the various things that go on in public discourse. And I respect everyone on this board to have an opinion, even if I happen to disagree with that opinion. And it doesn't change my feeling about you as people, and it doesn't change my feeling about you as good public servants if I happen to disagree with you. In the very first meeting we had on this, the mayor was, I think, quite strident in saying that this had to be approved because we have approved it many times before, and all the other projects that had gone on that were similar to this had been approved. And I'm not exactly sure what happened between the first meeting and the second meeting, but I understand it's your right to change your vision and your opinion. But I believe that your opinion and the opinion of the Safety Service Director does not square either with the code or with the precedent as has been applied in the past. I realize that the newest member of the commission has said that she was shocked that this got approved. I would simply ask, were you shocked when 31 Fern Street got approved with a garage below it and residences above it in a business zone, a B3 zone? And were you shocked when 5 Fern Street similarly was approved several years before that in exactly the same zone for the same reason?
I mean, I don't know.
And were you shocked when they tore down the Super Duper, a public accommodation, a supermarket that you could walk into and buy stuff, and they paved a parking lot over it, and the only use for that parking lot is for tenants of residential development next door? We no longer can go shopping at Super Duper because there's a parking lot there. You know what? It was a permitted use.
It's not the same, in my opinion, and it's all interpretation.
Under the law, how would it be different, ma'am?
It's all interpretation, and we're not talking about it now. If we're going to talk about it again, then bring it forward and we'll discuss it.
I have no...
I don't want to debate by any means.
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, I have
Could you
no real
clarify
reason to
that
do that.
the zoning administrator is Paula Mosley, the one that was given huge power to? Paula Mosley is ultimately the zoning administrator.
Well, I understand that the administration has the call on those
Right, I
things.
mean, before you go on and on, I thought it was good to know that.
I understand that the zoning administrator is controlled by the people who appoint him, and that's as it should be. But the point is that that's where the power to do that rests. The only last thing I would say is that there's been a lot of talk in the paper about, well, how can parking be a business? And if parking is a business, well, we ought to go out there and start taxing all those businesses. I'm sorry, we already are. If someone rents a parking space, they get income from renting a parking space. They put it on their tax returns as income, and they pay the city 1.75% if it occurred last year, 1.65% if it occurs this year. We're already engaging in parking as a business all over the city, and we're already paying taxes on it. I thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other comments? Questions?
One.
Go ahead.
Okay, I guess we're into announcements of the business. Since this is the second meeting of the Planning Commission, I think at this time of the start of the year, we should start thinking about what goals and things we want to work on for next year.
That's great.
I don't really want to bring up anything now, but obviously we have some things to work on. It's very evident at this point.
Right.
And that's all I really want to say, is that we should start putting that list together to work on for the year.
Okay.
2012.
So maybe everyone should sort of provide their list. I mean, I think some are being clearly, coming to the forefront, but provide your list at the next meeting for discussion. All right, any other?
Yes, I would like to, I've had a disagreement or two with Mr. Paskey, but I have to say that I think he's a very dedicated official to the government, administrator here to our government. I think that he is capable of making a wrong decision, as anyone is, an inaccurate decision, as anyone is, but I don't want to use the word inappropriate. I think that's a total misuse of that word, and I think that Mr. Paskey has exemplified dedication to Athens. I think that he's done a terrific job in the time that he's been here, and if there are disconnects that need to be refined, if things need to be more accurate in terms of wording, in terms of zone, that's one thing. But, I really chafe at the use of the word inappropriate in terms of Mr. Paskey's activity.
I do thank you and Planner for your service, as always. Announcements and other businesses. Our next meeting is February 1st at noon in the same meeting hall. If there's no other announcements or other business, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.